This is not breaking news. This is not a scandal. This is not about one person. What's happening right now is something much quieter, much deeper, something dangerous, a systemic failure, one we've been ignoring for years until now. And now it's too late to turn away. What's at stake? The very foundation of how power works in America. A president faced with constitutional limits chooses rage over reason, power over the law. And those limits, they're being tested right now in ways that could shape America for decades to come. This is no longer a question of policy. This is a question of whether America's system of checks and balances can survive the test of someone who believes those checks don't apply to them. Stay with me. Because what we're about to uncover isn't just a confrontation. It's a moment that will define how power functions in this country. Let's dive in. The real question isn't about who's in power. It's about who controls the power. Right now, the true force shaping the system isn't the president himself. It's the machinery behind him. The people who decide what gets done, how it gets done, and most importantly, what doesn't get done. It's no longer about the clash between Democrats and Republicans. That's just the surface. What's happening under the surface is much more dangerous. Because behind closed doors, it's the Republicans, the president's own party, who are now pushing back. But they're not fighting for policy. They're fighting for something bigger, the very structure of power itself. The ability to constrain a president who sees the law as an obstacle, not a foundation. They're taking action not just for today, but for tomorrow. And that's where it gets complicated. Because the more they push back, the more the president pushes forward without hesitation, without restraint. What's happening now, right here, could change everything. We didn't see it coming. But that's the danger. Change happens so slowly, it feels like nothing is changing at all. There was a time just a few years ago when this was unthinkable. There was a time when a president, no matter who they were, understood the lines, the boundaries, the system that kept them in check. But now, that's gone. It's the slow, silent shift that's most dangerous. We didn't notice it at first because it happened gradually. Policies changed, norms shifted, until one day we woke up and realized that the very framework that holds power in check was being chipped away. This isn't about one bad decision. It's about years of quiet erosion. And now it's too late to turn back. What we're facing is the product of decisions made over time by people who were too comfortable with the slow unraveling of the system. But here's the catch. You can't see a break in the system until it's already happened, until it's too late. And that's exactly what's at stake now. This isn't just one person breaking the rules. This is the system breaking slowly, quietly, until there's nothing left to hold it together. And then something snapped. A shockwave hit Washington. And it wasn't from the usual sources. This time, the source was within the president's own party. Republican senators, those loyal to him, crossed the aisle together with Democrats to advance a war powers resolution, a formal move to restrict the president's power to act militarily without Congress. This wasn't a symbolic gesture. This wasn't a partisan game. This was an intervention, a cold, calculated decision made by lawmakers who realized that if they didn't act now, it might be too late. What made this different? It wasn't just the vote. It was the reaction that followed. The president didn't try to reason. He didn't try to reach out to bridge the gap. No, he exploded. Reports say he called Senator Susan Collins, berated her, used profanity, threatened her. And for what? For doing her job. For pushing back on his unchecked authority. And here's the kicker. It didn't work. Collins didn't change her vote. Neither did the others. They took the heat and stood their ground. This is the moment we need to watch closely. Because the real question isn't just about what happens next. It's about how power reacts when it's no longer accepted without question. What happens when a leader who's used to controlling everything can't control those closest to him? So what's really happening here? It's not just about one president's temperament or a few defiant senators. It's about how the system is designed to function, or more accurately, how it's supposed to function. The reality? Power doesn't work the way we think it does. It doesn't flow from the president to the people. It flows from a small, tight circle of decision makers who can manipulate the system to their advantage. And right now, the president is playing a game where everyone else is a pawn. He's using emergency powers to sidestep the law. He's treating military action like a business deal, something to be negotiated. And when it doesn't work his way, he uses threats and intimidation to force compliance. But here's the truth. The people most affected by this, the ones who actually bear the cost, it's not the ones at the top. It's not the president. It's the ones who have no choice but to follow the orders. The soldiers who are sent into harm's way, the families who lose loved ones, the citizens who face the fallout of a destabilized world. This system isn't built for the long term. It's built to protect those at the top. But when the top starts to break, everyone else feels it. And that's what we're witnessing now. The collapse isn't happening overnight. It's happening in slow motion. But when it hits, it won't be just one person who pays. The damage will be widespread. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it did. This isn't just about one lawmaker or one vote. It's about a pattern. And that pattern, it's unfolding faster than anyone expected. Trump's response to his party's pushback? To double down. And it didn't stop with war powers. He declared a national emergency over Venezuelan oil assets. Now, on the surface, this sounds like a policy decision. It sounds like something about energy, securing resources, protecting American interests. But look closer. The timing? Suspicious. The urgency? Manufactured. The real motive? Control. This is what happens when a leader uses emergency powers as a tool to bypass the system. It's not about responding to a real crisis. It's about concentrating power. It's about keeping the system moving so fast that no one can stop to ask questions. This isn't a one-off. This is a strategy. Flood the zone with crises. Shift the narrative. And hope everyone gets too distracted to care about the real issues. And the worst part? It's working, at least for now. But let's step back for a moment. This isn't just about politics. This is about you. When a president uses emergency powers to sidestep accountability, it's not just a theoretical issue. It's personal. It affects real people. It affects families who send their loved ones to war. It affects workers who lose their jobs when foreign policies change on a whim. When you hear the rhetoric about Greenland, when you hear the threats against our allies, you might think it's just talk. But the people who actually live through the consequences, military, families, workers in industries tied to international trade, they feel it. They feel the fear, the uncertainty, the instability, because every time the rules are bent, the system becomes less predictable. And when the system isn't predictable, you can't plan for the future. That's the cost. And it's not just a cost for a few, it's a cost for everyone. This is where it hits home. This is where it gets real. What's happening inside Washington isn't just staying inside Washington. The ripple effects are already spreading beyond our borders. The chaos, the unpredictability, it's making our allies nervous. And when our allies get nervous, the world becomes less predictable. Take NATO. Take Denmark and Greenland. The rhetoric coming from the White House isn't just threatening an ally, it's threatening the entire foundation of the alliance itself. And that has global consequences. When a president treats military force as a bargaining chip, the consequences ripple across the globe. Allies start to wonder if they can rely on us. Our adversaries start to wonder if they can exploit our instability. Neutral nations start recalculating their positions. This is no longer a local issue. It's global. And the longer this goes on, the harder it becomes to put the pieces back together. This isn't just about one person's ambitions. It's about how the entire world sees America now. The question now is, where does this go from here? We can't predict the future. No one can. But we can see three distinct paths, and each one is more dangerous than the last. First, there's the path of asterisk, asterisk adjustment, asterisk, asterisk. Maybe things will settle. Maybe the system will find its balance again. Maybe the War Powers Resolution passes and Congress reasserts its authority. Maybe some of the excesses calm down and the system stabilizes. But that's the least likely outcome, Because the second path is asterisk, asterisk, erosion, asterisk, asterisk. In this scenario, the system continues to weaken. Emergency powers become the norm. Accountability fades into the background, lost in the constant noise of new crises. The lines between executive power and democratic checks get blurrier. And soon, we reach a point where it's too late to put the pieces back together. And then there's the third path. Asterisk, asterisk, rupture, asterisk, asterisk. What happens when the system breaks entirely? What happens when the checks and balances are gone and the president isn't constrained by law, by treaties, or by Congress? That's when we enter uncharted territory, where the power of the presidency becomes absolute and the country, its people, its values are at the mercy of whoever holds the office. None of these paths are inevitable, but we're already on one of them. The real question is, which one? And that's where we stand. This isn't just about Trump. It's not even just about the Republicans pushing back. This is about something deeper, something older. This is about the very structure of American democracy. When a leader starts to treat the rules as optional, when they start to ignore checks and balances, the system itself gets tested. It gets pushed. And right now, we're watching how far it can bend before it breaks. But here's the thing. We don't know how it ends. This moment isn't over. We're just getting started. And the decisions made over the next weeks, the next months, they will determine the future of power in America. What's happening now isn't inevitable. It's a choice. But that choice, it's not just in the hands of politicians. It's in the hands of you, the people who are watching this, who care about the future of this country. If this story matters to you, if you understand what's at stake, stay informed, stay engaged. Because the choices made in Washington won't just affect those inside the Beltway. They'll affect every single one of us. I'll be watching this closely, and I hope you will too.